In the luxurious front cabin of a transcontinental flight, a well-dressed man settled into his seat with an air of composure. His clothes were simple, dark jeans, a t-shirt, and a jacket, not flashy, just comfortable. His mission was clear, to relax and enjoy the long flight ahead. But the woman seated next to him had different ideas. She eyed him up and down with disdain, then muttered under her breath, "You don't belong here." Before he could even register her words, she yanked out a small bottle of perfume and aimed it straight at him, spraying the scent directly in his direction, clearly aiming to offend. The other passengers seemed frozen, but no one intervened. The woman, completely unaware of who she was dealing with, thought she was on a higher level. What she didn't realize was that the man she was treating with such hostility was a key figure in the very company that had recently overhauled the technology systems of several major airlines. In less than 10 minutes, her life would be turned upside down, and she'd regret her actions. Let's rewind a bit. Jordan Hayes, a black tech CEO, had just come off a whirlwind deal, securing a multi-million-dollar contract to modernize airline operations. Exhausted from the stress, but proud of the success, he boarded his flight from Chicago to Los Angeles, seeking peace and quiet. His appearance was simple. Nothing about him screamed wealth or power. He was a man of business, focused on the future, not on appearances. He took his seat in the first-class section, put on his noise-canceling headphones, and began reviewing some work on his tablet. The woman seated beside him, dressed in an expensive suit and carrying a designer handbag, settled in with a sour look. She kept fidgeting, glancing at him as if she couldn't believe her eyes. Then, without warning, she huffed and said, "How did you manage to get here?" Jordan stayed calm, choosing to ignore her, but her behavior escalated quickly. She pulled out a small bottle of perfume and aimed it at him, releasing a cloud of fragrance. She sneered at him like he was beneath her. A few gasps echoed through the cabin. The flight attendants froze, unsure of what to do. Jordan, however, didn't flinch. Instead, he quietly pulled out his phone, his fingers moving steadily. His eyes stung from the perfume, but what truly hurt was the insult she was attempting to push on him. Despite the growing tension, the woman continued her tirade, muttering insults loudly enough for everyone to hear. The crew appeared uncomfortable, but they hesitated to act. She was a well-dressed woman, assertive, and clearly used to getting her way. Jordan, however, knew exactly what to do. With a few swift taps on his screen, he sent a brief text to the VP of operations at the airline, a friend he'd known for years. "Passenger in 2B just sprayed me with perfume and said I don't belong here. Thought you'd want to know how your team handles this." Within minutes, a senior supervisor was paged, and the captain received an urgent message through the plane's communication system. The flight hadn't even taken off yet. Before anyone knew it, 2 ground staff members entered the cabin, followed by a manager. They walked up to the woman in 2B. "Ma'am, you need to gather your things and come with us," the manager said firmly. "Why? He's the one," she protested, pointing at Jordan. The manager remained unmoved. "Please take your belongings and follow us." Now, passengers were quietly recording the scene on their phones, while Jordan sat still, showing no signs of emotion. The woman stood up, furious, her face flushed with humiliation. "You'll regret this," she spat. Jordan finally spoke, his voice low but clear. "Already don't." As the woman was escorted off the plane in disgrace, the captain approached Jordan, offering a sincere apology. The crew looked on, shocked at the realization of who Jordan really was. Her rude behavior had set off a chain of events that would come back to haunt her. At the gate, security was already waiting for her. She was informed she'd been reported for harassment and would be added to a no-fly list pending an investigation. Meanwhile, on the plane, the atmosphere had completely shifted. Passengers exchanged glances and whispers, many nodding in respect to Jordan, who remained unfazed by the chaos. He reopened his laptop, continuing his work as if nothing had happened. The plane pushed back from the gate, and the journey began. It was clear that while the woman had hoped to humiliate someone she deemed beneath her, in reality, the tables had been turned. The events unfolding on that flight made it clear that respect, regardless of appearance or status, was a non-negotiable right. By the time the plane touched down, news of the incident had spread like wildfire. Videos of the confrontation were all over social media, quickly going viral. The public's reaction was one of shock, but what truly stunned them was the revelation of who Jordan Hayes was, one of the top CEOs in tech, a man who had transformed entire industries, and an advocate for equality in business. In a statement following the incident, Jordan was calm but resolute. Respect isn't defined by wealth, job titles, or how you look. It's a basic human right. When it's denied because of race, silence is never an option. The airline acted swiftly, banning the woman from flying and offering training to all staff members involved. Jordan chose not to pursue legal action, but instead donated to a charity dedicated to fighting racial discrimination in the travel industry. His parting words were a powerful question. How many others are suffering in silence? And how long will it take for the world to make real, lasting change? The incident on that flight became more than just a moment of public spectacle. It was a microcosm of the battles fought daily in society, battles that are often quiet and invisible, but just as real and damaging. The video went viral not just because of the shocking behavior of one passenger, but because it sparked a broader conversation about how people treat each other based on race, class, and perception. It was a powerful reminder that no one should have to tolerate discrimination, no matter their status or background. Jordan Hayes could have easily brushed off the woman's actions, dismissed them as the ramblings of a misguided individual, but he didn't. He understood that ignoring such behavior only allows it to persist. By taking a stand, not with anger, but with quiet dignity, he sent a message that would resonate far beyond the confines of that aircraft. He demonstrated that power doesn't have to be wielded with aggression or force. It can be exerted through calm, calculated responses, and by holding others accountable for their actions. His response wasn't about personal revenge or seeking a public spectacle. It was about something much bigger: justice. He was fully aware that this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. How many times had people of color been subtly or overtly disrespected, dismissed, or treated as less than because of how they looked? How many times had someone else been in the same position, but felt powerless to speak out or take action? Jordan, in his composure, gave people a blueprint for handling adversity with grace and strength. Furthermore, the airline's swift response highlighted the importance of a system that not only reacts to issues, but actively seeks to prevent them. It's not enough to apologize after the fact. Organizations must have proactive measures in place to create an environment of respect and equality from the start. The retraining of the staff involved was a step in the right direction, but it's only one step. True change requires continuous self-reflection, education, and action to address systemic issues head-on. The woman, who had tried to humiliate Jordan, was now the one facing consequences. It wasn't just the embarrassment of being escorted off the plane or the social media backlash. No, the real weight of her actions lay in the long-term repercussions, being placed on a no-fly list, possibly facing legal action, and perhaps most significantly, having her bigoted behavior exposed to the world. It's a reminder that there are always consequences to actions that undermine others. Yet, despite the humiliation and public shaming, Jordan never gloatingly savored the moment. He didn't need to. His silent victory was the fact that he stood firm, that he didn't allow an injustice to pass unchecked. As he resumed his journey, with his laptop open and his mind focused on the tasks ahead, it was clear that his real power wasn't just in his role as a CEO or the wealth he had amassed. It was in his ability to use his influence for something greater than himself. Jordan's story inspires us to rise above discrimination, speak out against injustice, and fight for equality and respect.